as a leader in your own community, how impactful
Mm-hmm.
do you believe a tragedy like this might be on that community as a whole?
Well, I think that obviously there are concerns over safety, which is, not to get into the politics of everything, but, gun control, or is it people control? Is it, there's all of those scenarios you can get into. So from the negative aspect, definitely you have the safety concern. How safe are we really?
Yeah.
But from a positive standpoint, it has really united the community of Orlando. And it really has. People who just much like 9/11 did, united the entire nation. Orlando has not just impacted, the shootings in Orlando has not just only impacted the community of Orlando, but it is in a lot of ways it has united much of the United States. Somebody from Indiana or Illinois, I don't remember the specific state, built crosses and drove them all the way down here to put them up to represent each of the victims. Yeah. People pouring in, thoughts and prayers and tweets, and celebrities, athletes, you name it. People were reaching out to the city of Orlando. So I think in a lot of ways, though the events were horrific and terrible, the city has not, and the community, I guess if you will, has not really allowed it to be an overwhelming thing for them. The community has used it as a rallying cry for unity and unification, which has been a very positive thing. And that happens a lot in tragic events. People rally around it, which is, I don't know if that's an American thing or if it's a people thing. I'm just not sure. Unfortunately, our society uses our differences to divide us, whether it's politically, socially, racially. Our culture looks at differences, points them out, and says, you're different than me, so therefore you're not like me. And because you're not like me, I don't like you.
Yeah, absolutely.
And what we have to do, I just believe that we were all created in the image of God, which is what makes us alike. But we were also created very differently, which makes us unique. And uniqueness actually helps us in our society, because where I might be good at something, that might be somewhere where what I have a strength in, somebody else may be weak, so I can help them.
Exactly.
And the same it reciprocates.
Absolutely. That's what I've always believed in something very similar.
Listen, every generation has had cultural hurdles to get over. In every generation. The generation, I guess you could say the Gen Xers, probably some had to deal with the hurdle of I guess our generational hurdle as Gen Xers would be probably the homophobic culture, the Gen Xers. The boomers, the generation before the Gen Xers, the baby boomers, their generational hurdle was segregation and desegregation. But if you notice, both of those generational hurdles focus on the differences between people. The boomers, it's blacks and whites. Blacks shouldn't be with whites. You're different than me. We shouldn't be together. The Gen Xers and because the millennials have sort of grown up in a tolerant culture, and that's kind of the theme of the millennials. They preach tolerance, and they want tolerance. So they didn't deal with the homophobic culture that the Gen Xers grew up in. Okay, so here's what happens. Where the Gen Xers and the homophobic culture, and that includes even the boomers and what is labeled as the greatest generation ever, the busters before them. If you think about those generations, they all went through, so the busters went through the boomers' desegregation, then the boomers went through the Gen Xers' homophobic culture, and what they all focus on and probably if you went back to the busters, it would be the probably Industrial Revolution, or I mean, we all had hurdles.
Yeah.
The thing is again, the hurdles always focus on why are we different? But again, I point back to this. It's, yes, we have differences, and differences don't have to be a bad thing. Now,
Absolutely.
we're all human. Let's focus on what makes us the same, not what makes us different, and figure it out. And now the problem is getting people to think that way.
Yeah.
Right. Until we understand that there's something broken in every one of us and it needs to be fixed, and it gets fixed, you can never have unification of thinking and heart. Because again, we tend to focus on differences. Now, here's what happens when, like for me, the shift happens when we can see people. Like if I can, so, oh, well, that person, that was the thing. Well, those people, that Westboro Church or whatever the name of it was.
Yeah.
Okay, gay. All right. Well, okay. First of all, there's names attached to this, and let's attach faces to names, and let's attach lives, and let's attach families that have been impacted and have lost loved ones. And first of all, gosh, every one of us do things every day that we regret, and every one of us make decisions which, the Bible calls sin. Every one of us do it. Okay, why do we focus on one that we have? Like, I don't wrestle with that. So because I don't wrestle with that and you do, I'm gonna focus on that in your life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. That's something that I've never been able to understand. I mean,
well, here's the unfortunate part. The unfortunate part for us is, again, let's just kind of go back to politics and media. They really do create a lot of this tension. Okay, so when something like that happens, you don't see the national media celebrate First Orlando doing a big prayer service and inviting the gay community in. What you see is Westboro Church coming up there picketing, saying you're all going to hell.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
What I think and what I believe is, like, I've committed my life to helping people. And I want to help people figure out, why do we even exist? Like, how did we get here? And what is our purpose for being here? And then how do we exist together? How do we make this thing work? How do we not have nations with fingers on red triggers waiting to kill each other? Why do we have, even within nations, we have people wanting to kill each other because of lifestyle differences? Why does all that stuff exist? Where does it come from? How did mankind become so wicked? And it hasn't happened recently. It's always been that way.
Always.
So where did all that come from, and then how do we fix that? And so my life has been committed to helping people. And again, going back to Orlando, this thing, when people started rallying together, when this thing happened and the community started rallying together, the people who focused on the differences, they weren't quieted by bullhorns and people yelling. They were quieted by the love that was demonstrated by people from all over the nation.
That's good.
Absolutely.
And that's when, in that moment, people, regardless of your political stance or your religious beliefs about, the gay community and their lifestyle issues, for a moment we quit focusing on that and said there were human beings that were killed.
Yes.
And that's what unites. That's what rallies people together, and people rally behind that. Again, 9/11, no one was sitting there going, well, that was so-and-so's fault or so-and-so's. No, the nation just said, hey, let's pick up the pieces. I think in every moment in history when there's been a tragic situation, that's what you find.